Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the 2020 Lenovo Yoga 7i16. All right, so 16-inch display. It's a Yoga, which means it can flip and fold all the way around. Since it's a 16-incher, it's going to have a larger than average trackpad. It's also going to have a little bit more I/O, which I'll show you in a second. And it does come with the 12th gen Intel processors. And pretty good speaker setup, powered by Dolby Atmos or Dolby Vision Atmos now. I don't know. Dolby something or other. Fingerprint for login. No facial recognition, but there are some models that do have that. And the total package is actually something very impressive. It's thick, but not in a uncomfortable or a burdensome way. And it's made out of pure metal, so it feels really good to the touch, sort of like a MacBook or a razor blade, but it has soft rounded edges, so it's not gonna cut into your palms or to your wrists or anything like that. I really like the design more than anything. As far as functionality goes, you know, it's really up to you and how you use your laptop if a Yoga makes sense to you. Okay, let's start with the physical tour. So, again, 16-inch, has nice soft rounded edges all the way around. So even on the top here, you can kind of see it. This rounded edge, it rounds into the flat top. So it's not a rectangle, it's more of a round, and it feels really good. So as far as I/O is concerned, I got this sucker plugged in because I just drained the battery. So full-size HDMI out, USB-A, Thunderbolt, and Thunderbolt, and then a regular SD card slot. So you can charge from either one of these, but you're gonna charge faster on this guy, and that's what I've been using. On the back, we have ventilation. This is part of a new design language from Lenovo for the Yoga series. I like the way it looks. It looks like kind of like Geordi's visor, which is, I don't know, better than any other Star Trek that's come out in the last 10 years. And then on this side, we've got our power button. This one is really well balanced with the rest of the chassis. It doesn't stick out really at all. If it does, I can't tell. And it's not too recessed at all either. It's sort of like flush is the word I'm looking for. It feels really good. And it's nice and stealth. Another USB-A and a headphone jack. There is no real taper to this, except that the hinge is thicker than the front lip. So you don't have like a machined hinge, if that makes sense. Like the display is uniform all the way across. The bottom chassis, actually it is wedged. Look at that, I finally noticed it is wedged. Okay, cool. So you do have a full wedge on the bottom as well. But overall, it looks really good. On the front, nothing too special. There's the new lip here from Lenovo, which is helpful because if you look at it from this angle, it gives you something to grip when you're opening the laptop up. And you're going to need that because 2-in-1s are notorious in my household, I guess. I don't know where else. I'm sure it's notorious elsewhere too, for being difficult to one-hand open. Now, the one-hand open, I don't know who invented this as like a thing, but it is kind of cool when you can lift a laptop up and it just opens. But this isn't one. Now, if you work this hinge for a few weeks or months, that might change, but no guarantee on that. Out of the box, it is a stiff hinge, which kind of makes sense. You want to have a nice tight hinge for when you actually need to grab the display and flip it, put it into one of those various Yoga poses. Okay, full-size keyboard with the number pad on the right-hand side and multi-function keys. I'm a big fan of dedicated media keys too. So play and pause, stop, and then left and right track or advance. And on the bottom side, no real influence here from the ThinkPad line. It's a totally different keyboard from what you'll find in the ThinkPads, but it does still feel good. There's no nub, their function and control are in what we'll call their proper place. I guess not if you're coming from the ThinkPad. And you get a nice big trackpad as well. Now, coming from the Z series ThinkPads, which I've been reviewing, it's kind of hard to go back to a regular trackpad. So, you know, a trackpad where you can't just click anywhere, right? There's no haptic feedback or magnets. That's a little bit bizarre, but it's okay. If you're used to glass trackpads from Lenovo or HP or any other brand, except for Apple, or the new Z series, then you'll feel right at home. It's a good trackpad. It just doesn't have that next generation feel like the Z series does. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, quick story, the new Z series ThinkPads, which are expensive, they're ThinkPads, they have these new like haptic motors underneath the trackpad. So you can click anywhere, you can adjust the sensitivity and the settings and stuff. It's really, really cool in my opinion. Okie dokie. So next thing is the speakers. We've got speakers up front. We also have bottom firing speakers down here. The speakers sound pretty darn cool, pretty good. So overall, it's a quad speaker setup, which is not normal. Let's give it a go. Right now, I have Dolby Atmos disabled, and we'll give it a listen. All right, now I'm gonna go back into Dolby Atmos and change it to balanced, the equalizer that is, and come right back. And back to Dolby Atmos, go with a warm setting. Boom, okay, so if you heard any differences, you're amazing. I can't really hear much in terms of differences, but I'm just not an audio guy. So there you have it. Really good speakers, especially for a Windows-based machine. It is a backlit keyboard, I forgot to mention that, but now we need to talk about the display. So, since it's a Yoga, you can fold it on its back like that, which makes reviewing a lot easier. So here we go. Touchscreen, but, so here's the thing. When you have a touchscreen Windows device, I think a lot of people want these devices for pen input. And this does support the Lenovo Active Pen. However, it doesn't come with an Active Pen. Now, the Active Pen is not expensive. I think it's $30, $40, something like that. And it hasn't changed much over the years. So if you can find one open box or refurbished or something like that, you could save a couple of dollars too. But it's not included. That's a bit of a disappointment. Now, past Yogas have included the pens, not just in the box, but also in the chassis. So there'd be a slot in the chassis where you can eject the pen. Now, I've criticized that slot in the past because it tends to be a metal on metal sound, like the pen will be made out of metal, which feels really nice, but when you put it in and pull it out, it just kind of scratches and makes this irritating sound. So I guess we've been spared from that, but unfortunately, if you need a pen, you have to buy a pen separately. And although you can walk into a store like Best Buy and pick up a Yoga line, you can't find the pens there. I'm sure there are some third-party pens that may work, but you know, I don't have any of those. I'm not testing those. At the end of the day, you're going to want a pen. You're going to have to buy it probably from Lenovo. All right, so there are some models that support Windows Hello facial recognition. This is not one of those models, although this one does include the cover for the camera, which is pretty nice. It's a manual cover. All right, in terms of specs, let's just fire up the About section. We are running on the 12th generation Intel processor. So it is a i7 1260p with 16 gigs of RAM. And it is not user replaceable, but I do believe this one has an extra slot. We'll have to find out about that. And running on Windows 11. So performance, well, it's been pretty good. So you saw that I was in YouTube a second ago, and did I close that? I don't remember closing that. Anyway, you can go to a site, it loads pretty fast. I'm on Wi-Fi 6 over here. Let's go to the GWW. And here we are. I mean, it is really nice to have a big screen like this, I gotta say. And you know, the touch works very well. You can zoom in and out, and it's pretty responsive. As far as handwriting goes, since I don't have an active pen to use, I'm not sure. But some of the technical configurations of devices that make pen input really good is when they have a high refresh rate and a low latency. But this one, it's not a high refresh rate. It's 60 hertz, which is totally fine for your business stuff, and it's gonna help with your battery life, but it doesn't have, I'd be really surprised this has like low latency for pen input. So it's a touch sampling rate. That's what I was trying to come up with. Touch sampling rate. Oh, hey, Ted Lasso Season 3. Let's go. So anyhow, I do like this device for people who want that flexibility. But again, being at 16 inches, it's kind of a tank. So the specs are 9.83 inches by 14.23 inches by 0.76. The depth is 0.76. And the whole package weighs 4.2 pounds. I think it's 4.19. So that's not a heavy laptop, right? It weighs about as much as a MacBook Pro, but the 16 inch, but it's also not so light that you can easily maneuver it, right? You're standing up and you want to use the screen. So as you're standing up, you know, see? Okay, let me unplug it. So you're standing up, right? And like, I'm in a meeting and, oh yeah, I got to show somebody a diagram. I'm going to manipulate it, right? So I'm going to take this, go like that. Okay, now I'm in. Go to my Windows, no facial recognition, so hopefully I can just type in my password real quickly. And then, grab my pen. Oh, it's got to get it from my bag because there's no built-in pen slot in this thing. Okay, now I got my pen. Okay, now here we go, right? And then you start writing away and marking up and annotating your PDFs or whatever you're doing with the touchscreen. So it's not the ideal configuration for what the market that Lenovo's trying to target. Okay, so not the ideal configuration for the market that Lenovo's trying to target. So that brings us to pricing. This particular model with the 1260p, not the H series, is no longer on Lenovo's website. Let me say that again. This model with the 1260p CPU is no longer on Lenovo's website. I believe it was at one point, but I don't remember for sure because I'm pretty sure I looked it up before I did my impressions video, but I don't know for certain. What is on Lenovo's website are the H series processors, which are way more powerful. I shouldn't say it that way. They are more powerful. All of those configurations come with infrared cameras, so you can do the facial recognition. And they'll run faster. Instead of being clocked at 2 gigahertz, they're clocked at 3.5 gigahertz up to 4.7, something like that. That's a performance cores, right? These new 12th gen have efficiency cores and performance cores. The P series is what you normally see in the 13, 14-inch laptop space. And I've reviewed laptops with those CPUs. They tend to run hot and they tend to have poor battery life. This one actually had pretty decent battery life. I was getting about 9 to 10 hours of daily use. So that's office use, YouTube, a little bit of music playing and stuff like that. But I didn't do a battery drain test on this because it's a 1260p and I've done a bunch of those. This is a bigger one with a bigger monitor or display. I figure it's going to be about the same. So why this configuration is not on the website, I'm not sure. But if you were to rush out and try to, because you love what you're seeing here and you want to buy one of these, you're going to pay around $1,500, and that's after Lenovo's discounts. They normally MSRP closer to $2,000, and you can get that 12700H, again, more powerful processor, with everything else the same, and Intel Arc GPUs. So this one does not have Intel Arc, but the other ones on the website do. This does happen sometimes, by the way. Lenovo's a Chinese company. Sometimes review units come from different regions of the world, and this could just be one of those situations where in other regions, they're selling it with the 1260p and no ARC. And now that ARC is out, because I got this before ARC was released, maybe now they just said, okay, in the US, people like those ARC GPUs. We got a lot of gamers in the US who need gaming and work-related machines. We're gonna go with one of those. And we're gonna just sell that in the US. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but the US site is what I was referring to. $1,500 or so, you get the 12700H, not the 1260p. Okay, noise. So I didn't clock the decibels officially, but these things don't run super quiet. Right now it's at idle and it's quiet. But earlier, when I booted up the machine, because I had drained the battery, I booted up the machine with a little bit of juice. I had it on best performance mode and I just went online and I was getting like the YouTube video ready for you guys. And I started to go, like really started to build up. It was probably around 38, 39 decibels. So that's not super quiet, but coming from something like a MacBook, it's surprising when you hear fan noise. Or even a ThinkPad. Those, I feel like ThinkPads are quieter machines. They don't make that kind of noise. But right now it's pretty darn quiet. And I imagine if I open up a browser now, it won't spin up. See? And if I bring up Word, I'm gonna have to accept the terms again because I wiped my account. Yeah, quiet. Except for that, and speedy. So anyhow, good machine, really good machine. So if you want something with touchscreen, big display so you can see better, believe me, I am starting to phase myself out of 13 and 14-inch machines and looking at 16-inch laptops because my eyesight is just going. Then this would make a lot of sense. It is a glossy display. It's not as bad as Lenovo consumer laptops I've seen from like 2 years ago, but it's still glossy. There is no pen. Battery life's okay at 9-10 hours. I mean, it's pretty darn good. And it's not too heavy of a device. I love the way it's built. I think the whole design is really gorgeous and beautiful. You get that really good I/O as well. It's awesome to have the SD card reader and the HDMI. So I think it's a good device and I'm pretty happy with it overall. I do appreciate Lenovo sending it over for review. And thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, just, throw them in the comments. We'll catch you later. Cheers.